Krishna dream. That seems to be
Yes.
that was a pretty big one. Over 2 years, receiving six to eight, or let's say 7 dreams over 2 years, saying you are Krishna.
Yes.
But this was a while. This was a while back. Now, this probably 10, 15 years ago. Or so, when you, it's tempting to believe that is one form that is quite important in terms of how do you say it, like this greater being potentially wanting to waken, do what he or she wants. It's tempting, but you're always careful. Is that what the ego's wanting, or is that
what the statement was? You are Krishna.
Yeah.
It's all hinges on that pronoun, Y-O-U.
Yes, yeah.
In the same way as, look, his face is glowing.
Uh-huh.
Is she referencing the ego? No. The ego can't make the face glow. She's referencing the greater being. And our bodies, our expressions, are fleshly expressions of the spirit, the greater being. You'll see with older people, you can see how they've lived their life spiritually right in their face. Some people, you say, pretty bad life, not well lived. Other people, wow, But that's all from the deeper aspect of our being, expressing itself through our physiognomy. So Krishna and the anima saying he's waking up is along the same lines. They're very complementary. They're talking about the Sam, the you, who is the greater being, is Krishna, and that's not an absolute other. It's you too, but that distinction is crucial.
And I bring that up also just because Krishna's a love being, and if
exactly. It's the soul draws from our. That's why it is important in the first half of our lives to go into the world with full heart and engage it in all of its faces, because the soul is gathering images through memory to work with, to show you, to present to itself in your psyche what it wants to do. It needs material, and our experiences from the first half of our life are internalized through memory, and then it becomes material for the soul to say what it wants to say about our spiritual soul, physical development, and in its own way. So in your case, you get Krishna. You've had a lot of experiences in India, and Krishna is a avatar of love, and so that gets used by the soul to say what it needs to say about your soul being, and so that's why looking at a series of dreams is always better than just one, because then you see, that's a garment. Krishna is a garment for saying a deep meaning about love in my life, and like for me, I've had many animal dreams. They're all talking. They're all addressing a different aspect of the animal spirit. But if I just got locked onto one, that'd be unfortunate, because they're all pointing to the same meaning, but wearing different garments. The lion garment, the eagle garment, the serpent garment, the bear garment, the whale garment, sharks, all different inflections. And so as powerful as the images are, you don't want to get caught by the image. Coming in image form means it has a deep effect on you, but we still have to work towards the logic of the dream, the meaning of the dream. We get that by many dreams over time. And we work out what the deep meaning is that we need to integrate.
And I guess it's based off some of my more recent dreams, but you mentioned how in the modern world we've sort of killed off the goddess. Do you see, I guess in my own personal dreams, there seems to be a calling to reintegrate the feminine principle. Is this perhaps happening is this perhaps also just on a more collective way? Is the goddess trying to come back in a sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very strongly acknowledged. That's why men are in such difficulty, because the structure of masculinity that has been handed down to us for millennia is a structure that's produced stable cultures, but it's on a foundation of hatred towards the feminine, towards the goddess. This is captured in myths of the hero slaying the dragon, which is the goddess with a negative inflection, by the masculine, something to be terrified of. And so the masculine structure, the heroic structure, is another way to think of it, which slays or cuts up the goddess, many different versions of it, is heroism, the heroic achieving masculine structure is rooted on a foundation of absolute terror of the power of the goddess. So what it does is, through language, is depotentiate the goddess through demeaning language, like witches and so on, or psychopathological categories like hysteria in the early 20th century. Anything that edifies the masculine impulse to separate itself from this terrifying reality that we call the goddess, which is basically life itself. So, and we can see the effect of that masculine structure and what sort of world it's created. It's completely constructed, and it has nothing to do with what we used to call natural life. We want to defeat death and suffering altogether. Just listen to Elon Musk talk for a few minutes. Denial of death, denial of suffering, denial of life. And we live in, and we're building AIs to replace us. So it really is a structure of masculinity that is anti-life, and as my vision showed, the goddess will have her revenge. And but a lot of men are in profound difficulty because they're no longer aligned with that structure of masculinity that wants to treat women like shit and treat nature like shit, and just get on with whatever they will. Like Epstein, people like Epstein just want to do this, that, and the other. Who's going to stop me? So it's that kind of out of control, and a lot of men are put off by that, and they don't want to go that way. So unfortunately, they often appear like soft males. They don't want to get in touch. They don't want to do the aggressive thing and destroy the world. With military prowess or whatever. They've become very afraid of their own aggression. And women also are having a problem because they want a man. They want to meet. They want to meet a man on equal grounds, masculinity and femininity. A lot of women do anyway, and they're not finding them because the men they don't know what to do with the generative power of masculinity, the phallus, the generative, life-giving the life-generating spirit of the masculine. It's being cut off everywhere through notions of conformity and uniformity, and keep your hands to yourself, and don't you dare step out of line. Devastating. So, but underneath all of that is a movement that depth psychology has got hold of. With the old patriarchy of the king, and a number of ways of talking about it, is dying off. That's real clear. Lots of people are saying that one way or the other. The way we've done things is going. It's collapsing, and that's often called the patriarchy. But with that masculine structure rooted in the terror of the goddess is collapsing. It's collapsing in all of men. Then some men are exposed to the feminine, and the terror. But in that lies the initiation. So the initiation for men today can be characterized as a descent into the mothers. It's Faust. Descent into the mothers, descent into all of those repressed qualities that we've relegated to women and scorned them for. Men are now finding those qualities in themselves really undeveloped.
Really
undeveloped. And therefore subject to ridicule. And women will do that. They'll ridicule a man who's struggling to find his feelings. Oh, come on, I've asked you how you feel in 5 minutes and nothing's coming forward. Well, okay, I get the idea. Women, there has to be a payback for what we've done to women. So we have to sort of weather that, but it'd be nice if women sort of got it earlier, that some men are really struggling and wanting to do it, wanting to find within themselves the very qualities that they've scorned and belittled and been in contempt of in women. They're trying to find it within themselves. Of course it's undeveloped, but that's where some compassion would be very, very helpful, because many men are willing to do the work. They want to do it. And that means descending to the dark goddess. And Marianne Woodman is very good in this kind of work within the Jungian community. She talks about various inflections of the mother, one of whom is the destructive mother. And this is mostly in relation to women, but it holds for men too. We have to get in accord with the destructive aspect of the mother, which really all that is death. Can you come in accord with death? A lot of work going on in that area, from men as well as women, of coming into accord with death and suffering.
Well, what does that look like coming in? Like you talk about work, I've got a lot of questions about how man does come into accord with, like as you say, the destructive aspects of the mother, but with this terrifying feminine.
Yeah.
How do they develop these sort of neglected aspects of themselves? And
well, the destructive aspect of the mother has to do with destroying those structures of the mind that keep her out. So I had a dream while I was in India, actually. I had a dream that I was in a room and I heard the destructive mother coming, and it even had a sound, doom, doom, doom. And as she approached, I knew, I could smell the sulphur, the burning, the flame, dark, chthonic, volcanic kind of fumes getting closer and closer. And she was unstoppable. But I called out to her, I said, "Mother, you know I love you." And she stopped and she backed off and went off, completing her work of destruction. Now, psychologically, what that shows is that the attitude of surrender and posture of love towards the goddess, there's no need for her to burn that up. She's interested in burning up all the obstacles to that position. So psychologically, all of those aspects in myself that were resistant to love of the goddess got burned up by the destructive goddess, and they did. I mean, I had years where my body was just an inflamed torch. And I remember having one dream at one point that said, okay, there's only ashes left. That was the dream. What that means in terms of psychology is that all those attitudes, those learned patriarchal attitudes, that even the most sensitive male still has, because we're born into this time, got burned up by some pretty strong affects and emotions and experiences. They got burned off. That was the inward process. The outward process, I failed at everything. Everything I tried to achieve, I failed at. My life was a series of failures. And that was the outward expression. The inward phenomenon was that those attitudes were getting burned off. Because, you know, they depend, if you're achieving and you're successful, those attitudes go to get burned in. They get routine, you know, habitual. It takes failure and loss, which I've had plenty of in my life, which is shown to be a burning off process.